culture that just views a pig as a pile of protoplasmic inanimate structure to be manipulated by whatever creative design the human can foist on that critter will probably view individuals within its community and other cultures in the community of nations with the same type of disdain.
Food Inc. is a new documentary that provides an unprecedented look at the way food gets from the farm to your plate and the effect that can have on our bodies. Joining me in New York is the film's director, Robert Kenner. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Beverly.
Well, Mr. Kenner, Food Inc. deals with some pretty sobering facts and figures, and the issues that you delve into are pretty frightening for the average person who doesn't really think of our food beyond the grocery store. One of the things that you deal with is the fact that the way we've eaten and do eat has changed more in the last 50 years than it has in the past 10,000. Tell me about that.
Well, we really haven't noticed. You don't see those changes when you go to the supermarket. The tomatoes look the same, the chicken looks the same, but actually all this food has really fundamentally been transformed without us thinking about it. Our food is not really raised on these small farms like you saw with Joel. They're raised on big factory farms, really giant factories. So it's a very different operation than we're used to, than used to exist before.
And you look at not the food industry, you look at raising chickens, and the relationship between the multinational food companies and the farmers themselves, and really how that's become a controlling issue because the farmers don't control what they farm anymore.
It's really scary. The farmers they're called farmers. It's really like they're more like, indentured servants in a lot of cases. So I'm getting the feedback from the film, so I'm sorry I'm a little,
okay, no, not to worry.
Here. Okay, it's really become a very difficult situation for farmers in this country, and it's a difficult situation for consumers. Ultimately, our food is very inexpensive, but it comes to us at a very high cost. And the high cost is a rather invisible one. You don't see it at the checkout counter. But the food is making us sick, it's polluting the land, and there are great alternatives. And Food Inc. Tries to point out that there are ways to change the system and get it back to how we had eaten, and at the same time there are ways to feed the world.
You don't hold back either in some of the access that you got and how animals are raised now, bigger, stronger, fatter, and certainly faster, particularly in the chicken industry that you take a look at. What was your access like to the multinationals when you went to these companies and explained what you were doing?
Well, what happened is, we probably approached 40, 50 corporations, and we talked to them at great length, and we were hoping to really tell all food producers, sides. How do we grow our food? But most of these multinational, almost all of these agribusinesses would not want to talk to us. They did not want us to see how our food is produced. I can understand how, they might not want you in a slaughterhouse, but they also just didn't even want to go on camera and explain what their side of the story, which I thought was really unfortunate, because now that we're done, all of these corporations are very anxious to get their story out, and I wished it could have been been seen in our film.
And in the film too, there's a farmer that said that you would be able to have access to shooting inside, and then when you arrived or shortly before, he changed his mind because he didn't want to be penalized or get any kind of trouble from the companies to which he sells.
Anytime somebody who works for agribusiness, if they're going to talk to you, they're going to be put at great risk. We went to dozens and dozens of farmers or chicken growers, and finally when someone, Vince, who we went to talk with, he really was anxious to talk to us, but he kept getting visited by Tyson officials. They would show up at his farm and sort of talk to him about the dangers of letting us on. And eventually, the morning we showed up, he thought it was in his best interest, and it probably was in his best interest to not let us in. Eventually, we found one woman, Carol Morrison, who decided to let us in. and she did so at great peril, and she no longer works in the chicken industry.
Food Inc. is the name of the documentary film. Thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us about it.
Thanks so much, Beverly.